We are trapped in a trumpocene nightmare, and I don't think that there's any way to escape this era of what we're witnessing. Now, are we closer to the end of the age of Trump, or still somewhere near the beginning, stuck and wandering in circles in the middle of it all? I do not fucking know, but there is solid evidence to support all these propositions that's going through our heads. Now, Donald Trump was finally arrested and arraigned in New York for crimes connected to hush money payments to a porn star during the 2016 election, and this is the first of other far more serious indictments that will likely await him for election fraud, financial fraud, and stealing top secret and other highly classified documents. Now, these legal cases could, in theory, force Trump out of the 2024 squatterall contest. Now, of course, Trump has publicly stated that he would not end his squatting campaign, even if he's indicted or on trial. Now, Trump remains very popular among his maggot base and the Repug voters more broadly. He quite literally owns the Republican Party, and he remains its presumptive 2024 squatterall nominee. Now, however, Trump's support continues to soften among the right-leaning independent voters that he would presumably need in order to capture the White House again, which hopefully doesn't happen. Now, the Repug Party elites and other insiders are continuing to efforts to undermine Trump because while they agree with his neo-fascist agenda, they increasingly view him personally as a liability and not the best vessel for injecting that poison into American society long term. Now, he increasingly appears to be listless and bored. And boring, basically, because he basically keeps repeating the same shit since 2020, and basically people are just growing tired of hearing the same old bullshit. His crowds still adore him, but he still does not have the same awe-inspiring command over them that he did years ago. And if Trump is not getting enough narcissistic energy from his sycophants, he may choose to skulk off, claiming some type of victory, and then try to play kingmaker, even though he's a loser and he's not a kingmaker. Now, as seen in Wisconsin and other parts of the country, there appears to be a growing pro-democracy resistance movement that is finally winning substantial victories, however belatedly to slow down, if not reverse, at least for now, the rising fascist tide. But navigating these possibilities and realities requires that we must first take a full accounting of how we, the Americans, have arrived at the age of Trump and the larger social and political disaster that he embodies. Now, in an excellent new interview with the Lincoln Project podcast journalist and author Jeff Sharlet, he describes this horrible journey and destination as the trumpocene. The age of Reagan, many political scientists and historians would say it goes from the year 1980 to 2016, and that Reagan was so influential for better or for worse. He shaped some of the fundamental terms of how the United States thinks for itself and how it acts in the world. Now, Democrats like Obama and Clinton deal with that in a different way, Republicans another. It's the reigning paradigm. That changed, but we're now in the trumpocene. How long does it go? How is its avatar? That we don't fucking know, but we're in the trumpocene. That is a definitive change, and you can take down a major party. If you can take down a major party, you have transformed the way of American life. Now, Charlotte continues. There is this undercurrent in the Book of Grief about not mourning, which is to say that we've lost some things, weirdly, at a young age, 44. Charlotte had 2 heart attacks. That actually helps him understand some of what's going on in the book, and part of your heart wall is dead. It's scar tissue. Now you have to learn to live with that. He's basically healthier now than he was before, but the part about him having the 2 heart attacks won't come back anytime soon, and the GOP is not coming back. The age of Reagan, for better or for worse, is not coming back. We're in the trumpocene, and what the fuck do we do now? In many ways, the age of Reagan laid the rotten foundations that spawned the age of Trump. As political scientist Bertram Gross warned in 1980, Ronald Reagan was the friendly fascist, and now in that role, Reagan was a B-movie celebrity pitchman actor and supporter of the Red Scare, who then of the Red Scare basically, who then became governor and soon after president of the United States, and he was an agent and symbol of a culture of distraction and intellectual and emotional immaturity. The embodiment of capitalism and consumerist success, Reagan was a man who used racism and white supremacy as political weapons, and he was, among other horrible things, a tool of the moneyed classes and other financial elites who gutted the societal dream, the social safety net, and placed the American dream even further out of reach for the average American. Now, in his book, Friendly Fascism, The New Face of Power in America, Bertram Gross offered this prescient warning about Reagan's rise to power, and it's one that applies to even more to the age of Trump some 4 decades later. I see at present members of the establishment or people on its fringes who, in the name of Americanism, they basically they betray the interest of most Americans by fomenting militarism and applauding a rat race individualism and protecting undeserved privilege, are stirring up nationalistic and ethnic hatreds. As unseemly and frightening as it may be to the mainstream news media and the political class and many among the general public, Donald Trump and his ascendant neo-fascism are not as a blip or aberration in American history. They're actually the result of decades and centuries-long forces and processes. In many ways, they think that Donald Trump is a great man of history, which he's not. And as Jeff Charlotte points out, Americans are not the same people anymore. Trump and his era have cleaved our culture and history into two. And to begin to properly understand Donald Trump and this great man and this supposedly great man of history, which he's not, and what he represents, it does not require that one wait for future historians to put this all in the proper context. Now, of course, it's a necessary project to put together this stuff, but nor does the task demand that one goes off to do research in a little studied archive, or learn ancient Aramaic or Sumerian, which both of those languages are dead languages anyway. But on a near daily basis, as he has for at least the last 7 years, Trump tells the sycophants and the public and the world exactly who he is and what he believes and what his plans are for the future. Trump, the neo-fascist demagogue, is America's unrestrained ID, with all the violence and ugliness and, yes, evil that comes with it. Now, for example, in a speech to the National Rifle Association last Friday, which is the National Redneck Association, as I like to call it, Trump amplified fascist threats and white supremacist conspiracy theories, lies, and encouraged political violence against transgender people, a group of human beings whose only crime is existing among us, that he vilified as being violent predators who are part of a cult that is creating death and destruction all over the United States, and Trump's claims are willful lies and inversions of reality. Now, then in an interview last Tuesday night with Foe, Trump told the racist piece of shit Tucker Carlson, who just got fired from Foe, that he would not end his campaign for squatter even if he was found guilty and convicted of any crime, such as the felonies that he's charged with in New York. As seen on January 6th and throughout his public life, Trump truly believes himself to be above the law, which he's not. He also continued with his megalomaniac delusions and lies, telling the racist piece of shit Carlson that the court officials cried and apologized to him when he was arrested and arraigned in New York. No, they did not apologize to him, and they were not fucking crying. As repeatedly demonstrated by his public behavior, Trump, the not-so-great man of history, is also very vengeful and actively wants to commit acts of violence and other harm against his enemies and all others who would dare to oppose him and stand up to him. Now, to that point, Donald Trump, in a series of Hitler-like speeches and proclamations, he promised his sycophants that he'll be a force of vengeance and justice for them, and that upon his return to the White House in 2024, which hopefully that would not happen, he will initiate a final battle against their shared enemies. In a recent conversation here at Salon, psychiatrist Dr. Justin Frank, who is the author of the book Trump on the Couch, had warned that Trump is dominated by the death instinct, which includes pleasure in bringing anything destructive. He's a person who has that temperament, and he's going to manage his anxieties and fears and other stress by escalating fantasies of destructiveness. Now, in Trump's mind, he is visualizing burning things down and blowing them up. He is fantasizing about hurting other people, and those fantasies of harm and destruction bring him great pleasure. A person like Trump may be fantasizing about committing acts of mass murder, but if Trump were a mafia boss, he would get his consiglieres to act on his behalf. For Trump to truly be calm and at peace, he would need to rule the world and to dominate everyone around him. Trump lives to make other people scared. He will also not let himself feel dependent on or need other human beings for his destructiveness. Now, at this core, fascism and other anti-democracy death cult movements are politics of emotion. The imagination, the dreams, the revolution, the dystopian and utopian dreaming and nightmares, Brownlands, Armageddon, and the irrational, they are among the defining features of the trumpocene. Now, the book, Moving Beyond Fear, explains the awesome power of the irrational in the context of Hitlerism. Now, Hitler believed fervently in the politics of emotion that would turn an insecure people from democracy to dictatorship. He could appeal to an anxious populace ready to surrender everything for the great leader who alone can protect them and restore their greatness. Now, this illustrates one of the darkest sides of fascism and Hitler's security story. It's based not just on extreme authority and emotion, but a cultivation and worship of the irrational. Now, embedded in religious mysticism and exclusionary and violent devotion to the tribe, nation, or great leader, this authoritarian version of the security story became a legitimating force behind some of history's worst tyrannies, whether it be brutal Roman emperors like Caligula or Nazi leaders such as Hitler. Now, Hitler made no bones about the power of the irrational and his commitment to an emotional, racialized politics that spoke to ordinary people's most primitive needs for security, survival, and pride or respect. Now, in the age of Trump, and the trumpocene is a fascist fever dream. The American people, after 7 years of experience, are only somewhat closer to seeing its borders, but the American people will not be able to escape unless they and the responsible leaders understand the power of its many dimensions. Now, only then will the American people perhaps finally be able to escape this trumpocene nightmare that we want to end. So if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And you can also go ahead and leave a comment and let me know what you think. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just a little as a few bucks a video or a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.